Truth be told, when I first started looking at Sora the Demon Hunter, I was getting Demon Slayer vibes. The idea of a guy traveling around with his cute demon sister, taking down bad guys, all that kind of stuff. But that quickly changed the moment that little sister, that little Nezuko sister, suddenly started going super yandere mode and started killing people. And yes, that was pretty much the point in which I was kind of hooked. I was actually into this darker and grittier look into the world of demons. Kind of giving me a sense of like an 80s or 90s demon hunting type of show. But I've watched the first 3 episodes of the series, which technically, since the first episode was like almost an hour long, we got like 5 episodes at this point. And this is my thoughts on the series so far. Sora the Demon Hunter opens up in the Edo period where we have a boy named Jinta who at some point decides to run off with his sister. His father is really abusive to her and he just decides to take her and just run off. One of the things that we note early on is the fact that yes, Suzune, his sister, has a red eye, kind of similar to a demon's eye. And they always seem to keep it covered up. Eventually, they're taken in by a man named Motoharu, who ends up adopting them. And in the village that this man lives in, they actually have this shrine where they house the Miko of the fire god. Well, over time, Jinta and Suzune, they live there. Eventually, Jinta ends up getting very close to Motoharu's daughter, which is Shirayuki. And since she's the next in line to become the next Miko, Jinta decides that he's going to train in the sword so that one day he can become her sentinel. Cut forward, Shirayuki ends up becoming the Miko of the shrine, and Jinta becomes a sentinel to guard her. Now, there's one odd thing about this jump forward in time. Suzune never grew older. She remained the same age she always has. And the reason for this becomes apparent later, as at some point these demons show up at the village. One of the demons attacks the village directly, and Jinta is sent in order to fight him off. He ends up losing an arm, takes down the demon, at which point the demon ends up giving one of his arms to Jinta, before giving him a warning. The idea that Jinta wields his sword in order to protect others. But what happens when the one that you want to protect is no longer worthy of being protected? Elsewhere, a second demon ends up manipulating Suzune into attacking the shrine. This is where we're getting a lot of big reveals as to who Suzune is. Yes, she is a demon, and she's always been suppressing that demon side of her, remaining the human little sister to Jinta. But through some manipulation, Suzune is led to believe that she's always been betrayed. This leads her to lash out, before Jinta finally returns. And that's when all the crap hits the fan, and suddenly Jinta is driven by revenge in order to take down Suzune, despite the fact that he's conflicted that Suzune is actually his sister. After a big fight, we're finding out that yes, 170 years from now, Suzune is supposed to be like the big demon lord, the one that's going to lead all the demons and take over the lands. And so Jinta decides at that point that he's going to devote himself to the sword, train, get stronger until that day comes and he can actually take down and stop his sister. And what follows this is we get different stories where Jinta travels around, he becomes a sellsword, so he basically sells his services to take down demons for money. All the while he kind of solves the problems that different individuals have and why they're facing the threat of demons. The first story, we get him going back to his home where he ends up bumping into his father, helps his father's new adopted daughter with her issue and facing a demon. And then the second story we have where he ends up running into a village that's being attacked by a slasher. And he ends up meeting a retired demon. A retired demon. And that's the gist of the story so far. My thoughts on the show. First of all, visually, I really like this. I like the aesthetic of it. Yes, the animation isn't top-notch, but the directing is really solid, and I do like the aesthetic of it. It has a very, like I said earlier, very 80s and 90s, kind of more darker demon type of show. It's something I kind of miss these days. A lot of the newer stuff is a lot more bright and whatnot. This one has a great look to it. But the story-wise, this is where the hook is for me. You can put aside the visuals. The visuals enough. It's just enough. The story-wise, I'm intrigued. I am actually hooked. Like I said before, yes, I made the joke. It's very Demon Slayer-esque. You have this cute little sister, and she just is being abused and everything like that, and this boy ends up going, let's go. Let's just run away. And my assumption there was that it's going to be a story where he travels around. He always has this cute little demon girl with her. Possibly at some point she reveals her true powers and saves her brother or whatever. No, in actuality, she ends up revealing her powers, but she goes full yandere. And I was waiting for her. I'm like, okay, where is she going to chill out? And then it's going to be like, okay, everything's fine. Let's just move on. No, she just remains super yandere mode. They go up against each other and it's just nuts from that point on. And yes, I admit, I was pretty much hooked to that point. I was already hooked before this because it was just doing very well to kind of establish the world, establish the setting that they were in, what's the expectations for people, being a sentinel, protecting the Miko, the idea of the demons themselves feeding off of people, getting stronger, all that kind of stuff. But it was really that point in which Jinta's world itself sort of got flipped on its head. It gets shifted very quickly to, before I used my sword to protect others, protect my family, protect the ones I love, and now it's for the sake of taking down this one target that I'm not too sure I want to take down. He's still conflicted. He's really angry about what his sister did, but he's still conflicted because he just wants to stop her. He doesn't want to kill her, He wants to stop her. The words mean a lot here. And yes, it gets into, with the second episode that I actually liked even more so than the first episode, the idea that he realized at some point, I made a massive mistake. Yes, the show opens up with this cute little girl being thrown around by this guy. This daughter is a mistake, throwing her around, and you're going, holy crap, this is kind of hard to watch. But then Genta at some point realizes, I made a mistake by taking her out of that shed. Because what I did is I basically released a demon on the world. She's actually not human. And that's that whole conflict, that gray area that I always love, that idea of, yes, it hurts to see this cute girl being thrown around, but she is a demon. And we do get that realization in the later part of the first episode of, okay, is she ever human? The way that she reacts to what she did isn't human. There was a switch that happened with Suzune's character. Here, she's cute. It's so cute. You have this little gathering. They're having this little dinner, and at some point they're like, you just love your sister too much. You would never punish her. And even Suzune goes over and she lifts up her hair to show her forehead, and she's just waiting for her brother to flick her forehead, and he can't do it. He can't hurt his little sister. And then that switch happens. That switch happens where suddenly you realize, oh, she's not human. She's a demon. Like, through and through. No remorse for what she did. It's just another day for her. Let's go home. I'm exhausted. What are you saying exhausted? Look what you just did. You did something horrific. Oh, she's a demon. She's never been a human. She was always a demon. It's really cool stuff. I do like that, and I'm kind of hoping that as it goes along, if there's other encounters with Suzune, how they'll end up using that story. Because it already showed me with episode 2, where he realizes he made a massive mistake, that, yeah, we can actually do something very interesting with this. But additionally, in that second episode, there's a lot of emphasis in there about almost a Mushishi type of thing. One of my mods told me that this is very Mushishi, and it kind of stuck in my head. Yes, it feels very Mushishi. The idea of this traveling sword that goes around, does work for money, and the different people that he runs into and how he sort of has to explain how they're in the situation they are. You have a demon haunting you, but at the same time, you're causing it. You're doing something to create a problem. You need to learn yourself, get those own skeletons out of your closet, and stop dwelling on this. Otherwise, this will never stop. I can cut this thing down over and over again, but it's still going to be created. The birth of demons is kind of a little bit odd and interesting in this world. The idea of it being created by both birth, but also by human emotion, anger, that kind of stuff. It was a cool little kind of way to sort of expand the world of the demons a little bit more in this world. And the way that he handles that, again, is very Mushishi. It's very Ginkgo, very Mushishi. It's pretty solid stuff. The third episode, I hasn't finished that arc yet. I'm curious what they'll do with it, but it is getting into, like I joked about earlier, the idea of a retired demon. That at some point, very, very old demons, at some point, some of them will decide that they want a life of peace. And they will give up being a demon, and they will go incognito and live amongst the humans. Just live a normal life. Not that they love humans, they don't want to be hunted anymore. Pretty much hide. It could turn into something interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. But so far, just with these technically 5 episodes at this point, I am actually hooked. This show so far has intrigued me. It's got a great feel to it. It's got a grittiness to it. It doesn't really hold too much back. And the storytelling so far has been creative. Literally a show that wasn't even on my radar. Now I'm intrigued by, and I want more. And yes, technically a part of that is the crazy psycho Yandere sister. I am intrigued to see more of her. Now, yes, my only concern that I have is going forward. So far, it's presented pretty much, yes, a very deep character building moment in the second episode, but the third episode is sort of opens the door to this idea of it being almost an episodic storytelling. I'm hoping that that doesn't bring it down. That I do have a fear there that we can end up having each episode is going to be another story arc where he ends up finding another place that he goes to where somebody else is having another demon problem and he solves that problem. And there's no like development to the overall story. I don't want to get too muddied with that. Because we do technically have a 170-year span here. Suzune's rise to power is going to be in 170 years. It even shows a brief jump forward where Jinta is at a shrine in the year 2000, which would be 170 years later, and he's arriving at a shrine, and there's a shrine maiden there waiting for him. So we're going to have that journey of 170 years. Those stories of those years. I just hope that those stories actually have some build to them, something to chew into, and it doesn't become too repetitive. But so far, it's got my interest. Can't wait for more. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think of the series, if you're going to be checking it out. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. I'll be doing first impressions of all the shows of the season, so definitely stick around. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support Town more, I have links in the script below. Greatly appreciate it. But until next time, y'all take care.